What's going on, Jeff?
Not much. How you doing? I like the leg lamp behind you there.
Well, what can I say? I'm head over heels for her.
That-
Oh, don't be surprised if I came up with that already.
oh, you may have been mentioned that before.
I'm known for my repeated gags. Just look at my
Yeah.
resume.
Hey, me too. If it works once, it worked the rest of the time. Hang on a second. I'm gonna see if I can't improve my lighting situation here.
Yeah, you're all good.
There. Now there's
Yeah,
not so much glare.
yeah, you're looking great.
Yeah. How you look like you have 1080p recording, 4K recording. Are you on your phone?
No, I'm just on my laptop, and I think I just have the right lighting, I guess.
I don't know. See, look how like mine looks all like 2012.
Well, I like to think you're a man from the past, Jeff.
As
So
I certainly am. The dim, dark past.
I don't think you're that dim and dark. I think you came from a good time, a well meaningful time.
Yeah, the 80s, right?
Yeah.
That's where I come from, boy. And I'm never
Boy.
leaving.
Boy, you called me boy.
I meant like boy, oh boy, not like,
Yeah.
you know,
Listen here,
child.
listen here, son. Let me tell you something about the oil dickens. How have you been? So how are you holding up?
We're doing really good. We're doing really good. It's it hasn't really been too much of an adjustment for us because uh, we're kind of extroverted introvert. Well, Karen's an introverted introvert.
Yeah.
I'm more of an extroverted introvert. So like I'm good when I'm out, but then I like need time to re-energize and just kind of be myself. So the real benefit of this is that we don't have to make up excuses not to do stuff with people. It's built in.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, quarantine. I'd love to, otherwise.
I would love to hang out, but there's this thing called a pandemic going on right
Yeah,
now.
you gotta obey the rules. You gotta. I'm doing this for others, not for myself.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Is it gonna be easy for when you're allowed to go back out?
Oh yeah, yeah, I think so. I mean, like I said, we weren't really totally social people otherwise.
Yeah.
So we're already like, maybe we should just voluntarily quarantine until next summer. you know, we'll just we'll let
Retirement.
we'll let everybody do what they do. Well, fortunately, both Karen and I have the capacity to do the majority of our work from home.
Oh, good.
So yeah, so that hasn't been too bad. Now I was supplementing my income with through DoorDash,
Oh,
and I stopped doing that. And that's the kind of thing where, we're not going to be going to movies anytime soon. We were scheduled to go to Gen Con in Indianapolis this year, and they just canceled that. So, I think that for the most part. Um, People are going to be being smart about it, and the businesses and the stores are going to be hopefully putting things in place that kind of mitigate some of the risk.
yeah.
But really, have you
It's
met people?
well, it's so funny because I was thinking about this last week. It's like we're not going back now. We're gonna go full steam ahead to this new normal of we're not going to be locked down anymore. It's time that we go out and we just this is what we got.
Well, let's see what happens
Yeah.
if we just live life normal. How bad is it going to really get? Which I think is kind of dangerous, in terms of who's really at risk.
Yeah. Were you taking it seriously at all when this first happened? Like when reports went out back in like November, December, January when this whole thing was starting to happen?
Uh, you know, I, because I'm a man of the past, I've been around from everything from N1, bird flu, all of that. Every once in a while, there's a pandemic that gets everybody in a tizzy, right? So at first, you're kind of like, all right, well, let's wait and see what this is. let's wait and see. But then you see how fast it's spreading and how contagious it is. And at the same time, you're like, well, yeah, but not a lot of people are really dying. They're getting sick, but they're not dying. And then those numbers start to go up. And then all of a sudden it's in the United States and those numbers. So I think at first I had more of a wait and see kind of attitude.
Yeah.
But now I've waited and I've seen, and I'm wearing a
And I've
mask.
seen it all.
Right. No, I stay in my house and look out the window. And the closest I get to a public space is this painting behind me.
Come on, honey, it's date night. Let's go. Look at the
Yeah,
art.
let's go. We're standing 6 feet apart from everybody in that picture. How,
That's
how about you? How did you like being someone who is statistically low risk, right? How serious are you are you taking it?
as a germaphobe, it really got to me at first, like when the news started happening, like in February, in January, February, when it finally made its way over to the US. And I was like, what is this? What should we do? And I said it on here
Right.
before when I had like teachers and adults be like, this is just a bad cold. Wash your hands. We're going to be fine. And
Yeah.
then it got worse and worse and worse. And then my anxiety just went through the roof.
Right.
Um, and then I was hearing that people who are older or have pre-existing conditions are most likely to get that. And then I was like, oh, good, fine, then I'm golden. And then you see more reports of like kids and teenagers and young adults that are getting it too. I'm like, well, then that's BS. Anyone can get this at this point.
Right. Right.
And
And
that's
dogs, now they're saying dogs and cats can get it and everybody can get it.
yeah. And I'm just trying to figure out I know we're gonna be fine. We're gonna move forward, and we're gonna have a new normal. But if that's the normal that A, I'm gonna like, and B, am I gonna get accustomed to? I'm not so
Right.
sure, and
Right.
that's
Are
the
you
difficult part.
generally like a social person? Like you like to go out and mix with people?
Yeah, that's I've had like plans for the summer, work, shows, podcasting. Like I had these plans that are just not gonna happen. And, I would have loved to go to a couple festivals and
Oh
have a
yeah.
beer with friends. And that's just, I mean, it could still happen. Who knows? I trust people, but that's just the difficult part.
But what's interesting, and especially around the community that we're involved with, is there's so many artistic people,
Mhm.
and it's been a blast seeing the way that they've been able to bring their artistry and keep doing it, even though they're not necessarily going out and going on stage and going to a theater to do it, or a bar or anything to do it.
Yeah.
Um, I think that the human spirit will find a way to eventually adjust and make the best of any situation. I think that's in our nature, kind of.
Mhm.
Um, so that's been really really heartening to see. But I also have had situations where um, my anxiety has gone like through the roof. And what's funny is I don't know about you. I don't know if you have always dealt with issues of anxiety.
Yeah, somewhat. Um, Even more recently, maybe because I graduated and I'm like, what's the world gonna look like?
Right, right. Yeah, your generation has never really known peace, Matt
No.
Shoefrider.
Very true. We like loud noises.
Yes, yes, exactly. But I just developed anxiety issues over the last couple of years.
Hmm.
Um, and and so there's been a couple of times where you know my anxiety just gets triggered, not necessarily from reality or something that I'm sitting worried and then all of a sudden I have anxiety. It just sometimes just comes out of the blue, like your brain says, all right, it's time to freak out now, so let's freak out about something. And
Yeah.
then you start thinking about all of the things going on and just kind of feeding into it. So I've had to learn some techniques to mitigate some of that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, people who deal with stuff like, anxiety and depression, and those are the people I really worry about. And the people in my life who are like that way, you want to reach out to them a little extra, or just keep in touch a little more than you might usually under ordinary circumstances, even if they're not necessarily asking for it, because you know
Yeah. What do you
they
do
could
to?
be in trouble.
Yeah. What do you do to cope with your anxiety?
um you know I freaked out quite a bit in the beginning to cope with it. Um but I talked with a bunch of different people, and they gave a bunch of different strategies. Some of them work, and some of them don't. One of the things that I found that I didn't think would work for me, but it turns out that it does, is the concept of, and I'm sure you've heard it, like 5 things that you can see, 5 things that you can hear, 5 things that you can touch or smell.
Yeah.
Um, because it really does do a good job of distracting your brain from what's ever going on. And now the thought, when you're having anxiety, the thought of even doing something to help yourself exacerbates the anxiety. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
all you really want to do is freeze where you are until however it is, goes away. At least in my case. But forcing yourself to take that step and start to focus on other things besides what's happening to you, really helps. Because some people have said, like, you just gotta breathe, and you gotta realize that it's not really going to kill you. It's just your brain. That didn't really help me, because the effort of like trying to control my breath, I don't know why, but it would. So this is, I think, for each person it's different. What do you do to cope with yours?
Get in my car and
Roll the
drive.
light.
It's like I'm not
Kids
even.
roll the windows
I
down.
don't. You know what? I don't. I'm not even kidding. I think maybe the first week into this whole pandemic, I had Columbia had a 2 week shutdown, so we had no classes for 2 weeks, and so
Oh wow.
I had nothing to do. So, and I didn't want to be in my bed till 3 in the afternoon, or I didn't want to play video games all day or watch Netflix. I'm
Right.
like, I need to do something. And so I just grabbed my keys and told my folks, I'm gonna go out for a while. And they're like, where? I'm like, I don't know. And I just drove around for an hour and a half, cranked up the tunes, and just was in my own little world for a while. And it was very just nice just to get out of the house and just be by yourself. Because I think any
Yeah.
anxiety that I was having just came right out just by jamming out. And so I do that weekly. At once a week I leave the house and just drive.
But what do you listen to? What's your go-to music?
It's like a mix of the Walgreens playlist and I'm not even kidding. Like I'll be at work and like, oh, I like the song. I'm like, what is the song? And I'll put it on my tunes. That, or I do like classic rock. I'm a big
Yeah.
Bruce Springsteen fan. Um, Bon Jovi or Kenny Loggins, um, Simple Minds. So
That's all good stuff.
yeah, it's fun. And it reminds me of the summer. If I went to music festivals in Grays Lake, Libertyville, all around Chicago, and I'll go to like classic rock festivals, and and every time I listen to stuff like that, it just makes me excited for the summer. Now
Yeah.
here we are in the summer, and nothing's really changed.
Right.
So I guess I have
Right.
to keep going on these
Just
drives.
double down. Just double down on it.
Yeah, but what do you think the new normal is going to look like?
I think one of the big things is, I think it's going to make a lot of uh, companies like corporations realize the flexibility. It's going to force companies to adapt. It's going to force businesses to adapt for a more remote style of working and living. And I think that that the real estate might take a hit, especially corporate real estate, because
Yeah.
a lot of the companies are going to say, for a year, people were able to work remotely. We figured out the technology. We figured out how to do this. Um, and do we really need this office space anymore? You know, I think another thing is the technological aspect. I haven't seen a list yet, but it would be interesting to see what innovations have been made as people are meeting more online and doing different sorts of things online. Um, because I think, before this, I mean, I knew about Zoom because my wife used it for her work, for work, but I didn't think it wasn't a big public app that people jumped on. Um, I think people are just waiting for any sense of the all clear before they start doing whatever they do. I think if baseball stadiums, like if Wrigley Field opened tomorrow, and said, we're not worried. We think everything's going to be fine. I think it'd be packed.
Yeah.
Because I think people just want to get back to whatever normal looks like to them.
Yeah, because
And
it's
I think,
escapism. That's the thing.
oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like you're just waiting for this. You're waiting for somebody to come and say, you know what, this is all over. You can go back to doing whatever you want to do. But I don't think that's going to happen. And now they're saying what in the fall there could be another round of this, or next winter, and then
Yeah.
going back into the summer. And I mean, I think that usually people are going to handle these things um, the way that they feel most comfortable doing. For some, it'll be like, I don't know, maybe I'm always from now on, I'm always going to wear masks in public places.
Mhm.
And other people are going to say they're just not going to worry about it, and they're going to go hang out in the bars because they just don't care. And I think one of the things that I've seen a lot online is that um, people have become more unkind. Have you seen that? Have you seen those
Yeah.
comments floating around?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I disagree. I think that people are being who they always were, only more so now. Like if they were kind of a jerk before, now they're still a jerk, but they're more of a jerk than they were before. And if they're kind and compassionate and caring before, they're even more so now, and they're reaching out to more people and helping. So I think that individually, it's going to depend on the person, and there's going to be. I think that a lot of people you'll figure out who really adds value to your life. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny. I mean, I was around when 9/11 happened, but I was 4. And I don't remember much about it. But I remember just I'm hearing stories now of how people came more together then than they are now, which is fascinating to me. And
Well,
I'm not even sure why.
Well, I think because, and I was already in the working world in 9/11, and I can remember, driving to work and hearing the first announcement on the radio, and the DJ saying, "Oh, it looks like a personal aircraft has crashed into the World Trade Center," and then all of a sudden, no, it's a jet, and now there's another jet, and now it's exploded, and now it's the Pentagon. That was a very concrete thing,
Mhm.
and it was very short lived. Like, now I'm not saying that the ripples didn't extend even to today, but the actual event that people came around um, was relatively short lived. This, from the very start, was very very vague, very ephemeral. You weren't sure what the symptoms was. You weren't sure how you got it. You weren't
Yeah.
sure what to do about it. You have different people. I mean, there was nobody. Well, there were a few outliers back then, but anybody took seriously saying this is a hoax. This is not real. One political party is using it for their purposes, and another one is using it for their purposes. So there really hasn't been anything for people to come together on.
Yeah.
Just your own opinion about something, and everybody has their own opinion and thinks their own opinion is the right one. So, I think at 9/11, everybody knew what happened. Everybody knew who the enemy was, and we were all able to come together in sympathy for the lives that were lost, the tragedy of the kind of circumstances that would occur to make that happen. And even and remember, this was the time, um, even the anger and the craving for justice that you felt because of it, and here there's not really any of that.
No.
There's just kind of, I mean, okay, is I'm staying home, I'm wearing a mask, but I haven't gotten sick, and I personally, don't know someone who's gotten COVID. So there is in the back of your mind can maybe say, how serious is this? Is
Yeah.
it a real thing that you need to worry about? But at the same time, I have elderly people in my life or immunocompromised people in my life that I love very much, and it's not worth taking the chance of exposing them to the disease,
Yeah.
And my ARP card came in the mail, so maybe I'm at risk too.
Who knows? We'll find out
Who knows?
in the second wave, probably.
Yeah, you're gonna wipe me right out.
I'm going to be back in my summer job this summer at a day camp. And I just got the word like this week that they're going to open. And part of me
Really?
and part of me is really struggling if I am like committed to it, just because it's 1,000 kids on the line. Well, I say 1,000 every summer. It's going to probably drop because of everything going on.
Yeah.
But that's a huge gamble that I'm taking. Like I
Is
go to
that
work.
in Wisconsin?
No, I'm in Illinois. It'll be in Illinois, in
And
Lake
they're
Forest.
actually opening it? I'm surprised.
Yeah, I mean, I thought they were going to push it back to like July, but they're going to open mid to late June.
We'll see. I don't
Yeah.
know. That would be a very, I mean, who would send their kids?
Yeah. Well, I think their thinking is we're about to enter that third wave like next week, should nothing
Yeah,
drastic happen. And so hopefully by the end of June, we'll be on course to enter that next phase where
where everybody
every
just go to town.
go to town and just see what happens. So
Just
I
see what
think,
happens.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
which makes sense. I don't know that in my eyes, I wouldn't do it immediately. It just feels really too soon. But they're following the guidelines. They've been talking to health officials, so they have an idea. It's whether it's the right
Yeah.
idea or wrong idea, we'll find out.
Well, and it's a complicated situation because there are a lot of businesses and people who are really at risk from this shutdown,
Mhm.
And it's like, okay, you want to be safe, but you don't want to starve to death, and you don't want to get to the point where somebody says, well, I need what I have, so I'm just going to take it from you. You don't want to create that kind of a society. So I don't envy any of the people who are making decisions on what to do or how to do it,
Yeah,
because either way there's not really a win-win situation.
yeah,
There's only a less lose situation.
yeah. Um, Jeff, do you remember, to switch it up, do you remember how we met?
I believe, and I could be wrong, I believe it was in Meet John Doe.
It was totally during Meet John Doe. That
Yeah,
was
Shannon Lee Day. I told her I'd mentioned I was looking for people for Meet John Doe, and I didn't necessarily want to pick from the kind of area that we always gather actors from. And
yeah.
she had mentioned you, so I had you come on in.
Yeah. And do you remember how I found out I got casted?
No, I don't know that I ever heard that story.
So I had a class that night from like 7 to 10. And the one day I leave my phone charger at home, that I had to turn my phone off. And so I'm leaving the building, and I had and I turned my phone on. I was like maybe 10% or something. And I get this text from Shannon, and she said, "Have you heard about John Doe?" And I remember at the audition, there were possibly that you said there may or may not be callbacks. We'll let you know. And I said, "Well, I didn't get a callback. I'm just going to assume I didn't get it, and I'll just move on from there." And she was like, "LOL, I'm with him right now. He wants to call you." And I'm like, "Ah, crap!" So I'm now running to my car, and I'm speeding home, just to charge my phone. And I'm like huffing and puffing, and you finally call, and I'm like, "Hello, Matt? Yes, it's Jeff.
How you
Hi,
doing?
hey, what's going on? What's on? What's up, Jeff?" And then we go on from there. That was my first post high school show.
Oh,
Um,
I didn't know that.
yeah, I hadn't at the time. I haven't done a show in like 8 months.
And
Um,
you kind of jumped into a huge cast.
it,
Uh,
that was, I say, that was so intimidating, that first rehearsal, because I didn't know, besides Shannon, I didn't know a darn person. And everyone was
yeah,
like, "I worked in the opera house." I'm like, "What's this opera house that people are doing this stuff in?"
I was gonna say, and that's kind of what my thinking was behind not having the same, because when I first started acting again, I came back in 2006, um, and I remember going to the first uh, rehearsal because they needed guys, and my friend Greg Boyd was like, "Hey, I'll get you in here." So I got in. I didn't, it was just kind of a thing, um, and and it was like, all how do all of these people have worked together in shows? How's
Mhm.
that happen? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now 15 years later, I am now one of those people that,
Yeah.
hey, I worked with you on this, and I worked with you on this, and
And it was so bizarre at first, but God, that was such a fun cast. And because everyone
yeah.
knew each other, I I think we were talking straight into rehearsal until it became like, "All right, we gotta start we gotta start working, guys." But we're like, "No,
Right.
we're liking this." Do you? And I think also because of you, I learned to stop improvising on stage.
Because yeah, you know what it wasn't, was a variety show.
No. The last show, I just was like, "Oh, let's have fun. Let's see what happens." And I remember I go off stage,
Sure,
and
sure.
yeah, and I see you like slam your cup down in the most quiet way possible. I thought you were doing a bit, and you mouth the words, pardon me, "What the fuck?" And I'm like, "Oh," and I'm like, "What? What's going on?" And I'm thinking like this is a joke, and then I look at the stage manager, and she's like not even smiling. She's looking down. I'm like, "Oh no." Uh,
Oh no.
yep. So I learned a lot that day.
Well, and part of that, and we've had this discussion before, part of this was my learning curve as well. And I had this come up actually in a couple of different shows that I directed.
Mhm.
And it really got to me. I mean, it really made me angry that that this that you that the actors weren't following my vision for what I wanted the audience to see.
Mhm.
Um, it took me probably until the end of Legally Blonde,
Mhm.
was the last show I directed where it happened, and I got really mad. And then I was like, so what? I mean, these guys have done 11 performances doing exactly what you told them to do. exactly the way you wanted it done, and bending over backwards to, not only to please audiences, but in a sense to please me as the director. I was like, you just got to let whatever happens that last performance, let it go. Just
Mhm.
let it be, And I mean, there are a lot of people who say, well, that's not right because the audience paid for the same show that everybody else got. By God, but you know what? I mean, I'm not saying that when you guys did Meet John Doe that last time, it wasn't better. It was certainly funnier.
Yeah.
I mean, the audience is paying for a good time. If they
Mhm.
had a good time, then who really cares about the rest of it?
Yeah, and I think when I noticed, yeah, we want to change it up every night, or we want
Yeah.
to keep it fresh for us. But I
Right.
think, what I took away from, yes, we can make small changes. We can maybe say a line differently or react differently. That works. But we also, we want to present that your vision and also put in something as well that's
Yeah.
not completely different. So that's what I took away from that, and that
Well,
was a learning curve for me as
and
well.
that's a great insight because it's you can you can make your performance your own. You can add little bits of character, you can add little bits of business up until the point where you change the intent of a scene
Yeah,
or you change the intent of the story. And I think that's where a lot of people without a lot of experience in theater can jump that line,
yep,
because that now then it's like, okay, well, yes, but now you just changed what was supposed to be a very intense and serious scene into something silly, and now that's going to carry over. That emotion that was going to carry over into the next scene is now not there, you
yeah,
know
yeah,
so that's where I think that there's definitely a time and place where you can add uh, your own business,
mhm,
but you just have to be very aware of where that line is. And like I said, part of that is understanding what's happening in the scene, and that's those kind of muscle reflexes you only get from doing theater for a decade.
yeah. And like I said, that being my first show out of high school, I didn't know what I was doing. So
No.
I'm just like, I think this is funny. Let's see what happens. But as I done more theater, like the last show I did over the holidays, I think our final rehearsal, it was the director said, "All right, I think let's leave this as it is. What we have now is great. Any big choices, I would say maybe not. Any small ones, try, see what happens." So that's what
Right.
I took away from that. Did I tell you when I did Richard III last fall? I flubbed my line so bad. It was supposed to be a serious scene, but I'm speaking Shakespeare, so I'm like, I stuttered on the line, forgot the line. The actor who's behind me, I put my hand over her face and said, "Thou should stop talking," while I'm like trying to remember my line. Finally got the line, and
uh,
that was, and yeah, we ruined the show that night.
yeah, but you know what, I mean, even situations like that, as long as it doesn't become awkward for the audience, they're behind you 100% because they know stuff like that happens.
Oh, I hope.
That's part of one of the things that you like to see in theater is that the humanity, the real life that happens into it. But you
Yeah,
just can't freeze on stage and just not do anything, because then it becomes super awkward and the audience feels sorry for you and it's embarrassing for everybody, and then it's bad news. So if you're ever gonna forget a line, make it work for
thou,
you.
thou shalt not talk.
Stop talking.
Oh, that was bad. So you have a web show, a web series that I had the pleasure of volunteering and being the boom mic operator for, because me and sound. Um, and now it's coming back. Well, to a point, it's going to be on. It's going to be on the website, the Woodstock Opera House website, and it's going to probably.
Mhm.
And how does it feel to? Hopefully, you're going to find a brand new audience with this again.
Well, that's what we're looking forward to do. I mean, we created Upstaged the series as kind of a lot of the people who were involved in that had a lot of history with the opera house in
Yeah,
itself. So it was kind of a love letter to the opera house, and also a love letter to theater and the kind of people who work in theater. But that was kind of where we started from, and then there already was Waiting for Guffman. There's an awful lot of shows about the onstage aspect of it, but the concept of what about the people behind the scenes who make the show happen? The crew and the people who run the theater and the maintenance people. So then that's how we started writing those characters, and we created 13 episodes of the first season. I think you were involved in somewhere around 9, 10, 11, right around.
yeah. I think I did a pretty good chunk of them.
Yeah, yeah, and then we started putting it up on YouTube, but we wanted to hold off the last 3 episodes in case we could find a market for it on Amazon or Hulu or any of those places. And so it kind of we were nominated at the Ozark Mountain Web Fest.
Yeah.
So for um, best premiere episode, and we went down there and did not win. But it was fun to. It was just fun to be. What do they say? It was just an honor to be nominated. Betsy Cosgray at the Opera House got a hold of me and said they wanted to put it up on their website. And she wants to include new interviews and with the cast and crew and some behind the scenes stuff to accompany them.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's going up Friday at 7 p.m. The episodes.
That's fantastic. And has this pandemic maybe made you think about a second season? Have you started writing a second season?
The sad part of it is that life moves so fast. We've had we've had people move away from the main cast. We unfortunately lost one of our cast members last year, and I think that moment has passed. I mean, one of them moved to Florida, one of them moved to Indiana. It's like you would have to change it so much that it's probably better to start over with something else.
So what you're saying is we're gonna go with the anthology format.
I am not a fan of the short story. I will put that out there for the
Okay.
world. Condemn me if you will. I like long form. No, but I'm working on a couple of projects now
Okay.
that I cannot talk about yet, but that will be the follow up. But it's all new content, all new casts, all new everything. So Upstaged I thought was great. I'm really proud of it. I think it really stands on its own as both a tribute to community theater as well as just a funny sitcom that I think everybody can enjoy.
Yeah.
But it's only one of many ideas.
Yeah. Before we go, Jeff, is there anything you want to plug or promote? Anything otherwise? I mean, we talked about Upstage.
Yeah, Upstage is the only really big thing that's happening right now. I just want everybody to stay safe, reach out to people that may need some extra TLC during these times, and thank you, Matt, for the opportunity to do this. I think it's a great thing that you're doing, getting all the different perspectives from people during this time.
Jeff, I can't imagine another actor, writer, director, producer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, to talk to you right now during a pandemic. So, again, thank you for coming on. It's always fun to
Yeah,
talk with you.
yeah, my pleasure, my pleasure. And then let me know what's next for you after this.
Hey everyone, thanks again for listening to this episode of You Have a Minute, a daily isolated podcast. My thanks to Jeff Cook for coming on the show and taking some time to talk with me. Jeff is a cool guy, a very funny actor and writer and director. Like I said, I got to work with him as the boom mic operator on his web series Upstage, which you can find by YouTubing Upstage the series, and you can find all the 13 episodes. And go to Woodstock Opera House tomorrow, woodstockoperahouse.com. That is the URL. Starting tomorrow at 7 p.m., that website will have all 13 episodes of the show. So, moving on though, I think I should do a little bit of news, which is I'm going to be ending this show. Don't freak out. Don't cry. Let me explain. So, this show was designed for a quarantine, for isolation, and this was a way for me to deal with my anxiety and hear from other people who are also isolated with me as well. Well, now that we are going to be, Illinois, for instance, is going to be moving into a new phase where things are going to be open up more, and things are going to be lightening up a bit. This show was for isolation. And plus, we'll be ending at 50, and I think 50 is a pretty good spot for this show. Now, that being said, it could come back. It could come back later in June, July, August. Heck, maybe if there's a second wave, there might be a season 2. Who knows? But yeah, starting next Friday will be the last episode. That being said, I am currently planning a big week with big guests that I know, people who are very generous for coming on and taking time to talk with me. So yeah, next week will be sad, but I think 50 is a good ending spot for the show. That being said, have a good weekend. Wash your hands, wear a mask, stay 6 feet apart from each other, watch some Tiger King, play some Animal Crossing. I don't do both, but I hear that's a really good pastime. Who knew? And I'll talk to you guys later.